The screen of my phone still glowed with my agent's message. Deal signed. $1.2 million advance. Trilogy picked up by Penguin Random House. Call me ASAP. I stared at Michael across our kitchen table, waiting for some sign that he'd heard me, a smile, a congratulations, anything. But his attention remained fixed on his phone, thumbs typing rapidly. Michael, I tried again. Did you hear what I said? This is huge. Millimeter, he murmured. Just let me know when you get the money. And don't forget about that cable bill, it's due tomorrow. My name is Rebecca Chen, and at 34, I'd just achieved every writer's dream. My fantasy trilogy, written in stolen moments between teaching high school English and managing our household, had sparked a bidding war between major publishers. And my husband of 7 years couldn't care less. I shouldn't have been surprised. Michael had been dismissing my writing since I'd started 3 years ago. Cute hobby, he'd call it, or your little stories. Even when my first draft won a prestigious online contest, he'd simply asked if I was done playing author and ready to focus on real life. But this was real. This was a legitimate, life-changing publishing deal. I left the kitchen without another word, heading to my small home office, really just a converted walk-in closet where I wrote late at night after Michael went to bed. My laptop was still open to the bank website where I'd been checking our account balances, making sure we could cover bills until my next teaching paycheck. Something caught my eye. A transaction I didn't recognize, $5,000 transferred to an account labeled MR Investment Fund. I frowned. We had separate accounts for our personal spending, but our joint account was only for household expenses. Michael had never mentioned any investment fund. Scrolling through the history, my heart started racing. Similar transfers had been happening monthly for over a year, always to different accounts with vague names, always when I was busiest with teaching or writing and least likely to notice. My hands shaking now for a very different reason, I pulled up our other account records. Credit card statements showed purchases at high-end restaurants on nights Michael had claimed to be working late. Hotel charges in nearby cities when he'd said he was at business conferences. A notification popped up on my phone, an email from my agent, Lisa, with the official contract attached. But I couldn't focus on it anymore. My mind was spinning with questions about these mysterious transactions. I called my best friend, Amy, who worked in banking. Can you look into something for me? I asked when she answered. Some account numbers I found. Is this about the book deal? She asked excitedly. Lisa just texted me, Becca, I'm so proud. No, I cut her off. This is about Michael. I think he's been hiding money. 20 minutes later, I sat in Amy's home office, watching her type account numbers into her database. These aren't normal investment accounts, she said finally, frowning at her screen. They're more like holding accounts. Temporary stops before money moves somewhere else. Where? She typed more commands. That's the weird part. The trail gets murky after the initial transfers. But Becca. She turned to face me. This pattern? It's similar to what we look for when flagging potential financial fraud. Fraud. The word felt heavy, wrong. Michael was an accountant at a prestigious firm. He handled other people's money for a living. He wouldn't. How much has he moved in total? I asked. Amy calculated quickly. From what I can see here, close to $80,000 over the past 18 months. The room spun slightly. That was most of our savings, money we'd been setting aside for a house down payment, for starting a family. Money I'd contributed to while writing late at night, telling myself every sale would help build our future. There's something else, Amy said quietly. These accounts? They're connected to an LLC registered to someone named Marie Russell. Ring any bells? I shook my head, then stopped. Marie Russell. MR Investment Fund. Can you find out more about her? Amy's fingers flew over her keyboard. Not much comes up. Wait. Here's her social media. She's, I leaned over to look at the screen. The woman in the profile photo was stunning, young, blonde, perfectly styled. Her most recent post was tagged at an expensive restaurant I recognized from Michael's credit card statements. I have to go, I said, standing abruptly. Becca, wait. Amy called after me. What are you going to do? I paused at her door. I'm going to write. That's what I do best, isn't it? At home, Michael was still at the kitchen table, still glued to his phone. I watched him for a moment, wondering who he was really texting. Marie? Other women? Other investments? I'm thinking of opening a separate account for the book money, I said casually. You know, for tax purposes. That got his attention. He looked up, eyes narrowing slightly. Why? We have perfectly good joint accounts. True. But this is business income. Might be better to keep it separate. Don't be ridiculous, he said, his tone sharpening. We're married. Your money is our money. I thought about the $80,000 he'd moved without telling me. About the hotel charges and restaurant bills. About all the nights I'd written until my fingers ached, believing we were building something together. You're right, I said softly. Marriage is about sharing. About trust. He nodded, already looking back at his phone. Exactly. So just let me handle the money like always. I am the accountant, after all. I went back to my office and opened my laptop. But instead of working on my next book, I started documenting everything I'd found. Account numbers. Transaction dates. Marie Russell's social media posts that coincided with Michael's mysterious business trips. My phone buzzed, Lisa, probably wondering why I hadn't called back about the contract. But I wasn't ready to think about that yet. The publishing deal that should have been the happiest moment of my career was now tangled up with the discovery of my husband's betrayal. I opened a new document and started typing. Dear Michael, for 3 years, you've called my writing a hobby. You've dismissed my dreams as fantasy, ironic, given that's what I write. But while I was creating worlds of magic and adventure, you were writing a different kind of fiction. A text came through from Amy. Don't do anything rash. Come over tomorrow. We'll figure this out. But I was already moving with the same focus I brought to my writing. First, I contacted our bank and froze our joint account, citing suspicious activity. Then I emailed Lisa, asking her to delay processing the contract. I needed to make some changes to the payment details. Finally, I started a new document. Not a novel this time, but a detailed record of everything Michael had hidden, everything he'd stolen. Every lie, every secret account, every dinner with Marie Russell. He wanted to dismiss my writing? Fine. But he was about to learn that words, my words, had power he'd never imagined. The next morning, Michael's reaction to the frozen account was exactly what I expected, explosive. What do you mean you can't access it? He shouted into his phone, pacing our kitchen. I need that money today. I sat at my laptop, calmly typing while I listened. My agent Lisa had just emailed the revised contract, this time with my new, separate bank account listed for the advance payment. No, you don't understand, Michael continued, his voice rising. I have commitments, investments that need to be. He glanced at me and lowered his voice, stepping onto the back porch. I pulled up my email and clicked send on a message I'd prepared earlier. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with responses from the recipients, Michael's firm's senior partners. Meeting arranged for 2 p.m., the managing partner wrote. Given the nature of your evidence, we agree this requires immediate attention. Michael stormed back inside, his face red. The bank says you reported suspicious activity. What the hell, Rebecca? I closed my laptop slowly. Interesting choice of words. Hell. Suspicious. Almost as interesting as MR Investment Fund or Marie Russell. The color drained from his face. What are you talking about? Should we discuss the $80,000 you've moved through holding accounts? Or would you prefer to talk about your dinner dates at Le Cirque? The hotel charges? The lies. You've been spying on me. His attempt at outrage fell flat, undermined by the panic in his eyes. No, Michael. I've been writing. Documenting. Creating a paper trail. That's what writers do. We pay attention to details, build narratives, reveal truth through words. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I saw his expression shift from panic to something closer to terror. Your firm's partners would like to meet with us this afternoon, I said. Something about questionable transactions involving client accounts? Funny how those transfers lined up with your personal investments. You don't understand, he said quickly. The money. I was going to pay it back. I just needed to cover some temporary. Temporary what? Expenses with Marie? Your secret life that my cute hobby helped finance. He sank into a chair, suddenly looking older. How long have you known? Long enough to gather evidence. Long enough to protect myself. And long enough to realize that while you were dismissing my writing as fantasy, you were stealing reality. My phone buzzed, Amy, reminding me about our planned meeting. But I wasn't done here yet. The publishing deal, I continued, the one you couldn't be bothered to acknowledge yesterday? It's not just about the money. It's about validation. Recognition. Everything you tried to deny me while helping yourself to our savings. Becca, please, he tried, using my nickname for the first time in months. We can fix this. I'll break things off with Marie, return the money. The money's already gone, Michael. And so is your career, probably. The firm doesn't look kindly on accountants who borrow from client accounts. His phone buzzed again, Marie this time, based on how quickly he silenced it. What do you want? He asked finally. Name your price. Everyone has one. I laughed, and the sound surprised us both. That's the difference between us, Michael. You see everything as a transaction. I see stories. And yours? It's about to become a cautionary tale. The meeting at his firm was brutal. I presented my evidence methodically, bank records, hotel receipts, documented transfers from client accounts to Michael's holding companies. The partners' faces grew grimmer with each revelation. Mrs. Chen, the managing partner, said when I finished, we owe you a debt of gratitude. This could have cost the firm millions in liability. Michael sat silently, his career imploding in real time. His phone kept buzzing. Marie had apparently seen the bank alerts about their shared accounts being frozen. One more thing, I said, pulling out my laptop. I've documented everything in detail. My agent thinks it would make an excellent non-fiction follow-up to my trilogy. Trust and Other Fictions, what do you think? Michael's head snapped up. You wouldn't. Why not? You always said I should write what I know. In the end, the firm pressed charges. They had to. The client account discrepancies were too serious to ignore. Michael was led out by security, his personal items in a box, his professional reputation in tatters. Marie, it turned out, had already moved on, to another accountant at a different firm. Investment opportunities, she'd called their relationship in texts I found. She'd played him as thoroughly as he'd played me. The advance for my trilogy arrived the next week, deposited safely in my new private account. I bought out Michael's share of our house in the divorce settlement. He needed the money for legal fees. My first book was published 6 months later, while Michael awaited trial. The dedication page read, for those who dismiss dreams as hobbies, who mistake silence for weakness, who forget that every story eventually reveals its truth. It became a bestseller. Lisa called with news about foreign rights sales. They're especially interested in the non-fiction book, she said. The one about financial fraud and betrayal. Tell them it's still in progress, I replied. The ending's writing itself. I turned my old closet office into a proper writing room, with a view of the garden I'd planted after Michael left. Each morning, I sit there crafting new worlds, weaving magic and justice into stories that remind readers that fantasy can be more honest than reality sometimes. Last week, I received a letter from Michael's prison. I'm sorry, he wrote. I never gave your writing the respect it deserved. I used his letter as a bookmark in my notebook, the one where I'm writing our story. Not as a romance or a tragedy, but as what it really is, a reminder that words have power, truth has patience, and sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding on your own terms. My second trilogy sold for twice what the first one did. The day I signed that contract, I took Amy to dinner at Le Cirque, Michael and Marie's old meeting place. To storytellers, she toasted. To truth, I replied. Later that night, typing in my study, I thought about how stories end and begin. Michael had dismissed my writing as fantasy while living a lie. I'd turned his lies into truth, his dismissal into determination. The advance copies of my new book arrived yesterday. The cover is beautiful, a phoenix rising from ashes made of numbers and bank statements. The critics are calling it a masterful blend of fantasy and reality. They have no idea.